Picture a mountain valley in June. Peaks capped with the remnants of winter snowfall ring the horizon. Their forested slopes tumble steeply downward into wildflower-covered sagebrush hills. At the valley bottom, willows line a creek just starting to flow clear after spring runoff. Verdant meadows spread out from the creek, marking a riparian floodplain filled with grasses, sedges, and forbs, just hitting the stride of their growing season. The valley is abundant with life, from sandhill cranes and other birds nesting in the wetlands created by spring flooding, to the mule deer, elk, and moose that wander between the creek and the hills, looking for plants to eat. Historically, natural alterations in the creek, created by woody debris or beaver dams, helped slow the rush of runoff, spreading the water out over the creekside meadows.
In the Intermountain West, wetlands have a small footprint on the arid landscape, but they play an important role in wildlife habitat and watershed function. Seasonal flooding in the spring creates temporary wetlands that dry after a month or two as the flush of snowmelt subsides. Even after the water recedes, these areas stay green, supported by moist soils that help plants grow.
Today, human activities have redirected and repurposed water in many riparian areas, effectively removing a lot of that complexity and changing how water moves through the watershed. Some water is stored in reservoirs or moved through canals or pipelines for use in cities and towns, while some is diverted to grow crops or raise livestock. Because of these human modifications, spring flooding in our green ribbons has also changed. Although modern use of water has reduced watershed function in many places, some agricultural practices can keep floodplains wet by mimicking the seasonal flooding that occurred in these systems. In particular, flood irrigation in the spring or early summer can be used to saturate meadows and pastures and riparian corridors to grow grass hay for livestock like cattle or sheep. In these places, instead of spring floodwaters naturally spilling over the riverbank, ditches weave through the meadow, directing water to where it can top ditch banks and spill out over the field. The effect is strikingly similar to natural riparian flooding, water spreading out and slowing down, creating wetlands.
Whether created by natural flooding or flood-irrigated grass hay agriculture, wetlands act as nature's sponge, providing benefits by absorbing and holding water in the ground and on the landscape, and slowly releasing it into the groundwater and aquifer, or back into the creek later in the season to support fisheries as well as downstream water users.
In today's Intermountain West, flood-irrigated grass hay practices create nearly 2/3 of the temporary wetlands providing these benefits to watersheds and to wildlife. Because water application is timed with spring runoff in many places, flood irrigation can mimic the peak flooding of natural wetlands. Over 90% of these irrigation-supported wetlands are located in riparian corridors, meaning that they exist in areas where wetlands were present historically. This helps keep the green ribbons of the West lush late into the growing season. Ranchers are the primary stewards of these wetlands, which are typically located in upper watersheds in states like Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, and Oregon, headwater areas that affect water quantity and quality for everyone downstream. These wetlands also provide essential habitat for migrating and breeding birds such as sandhill cranes as they move across the landscape. The ranchers who manage these areas often have high priority water rights due to the long tenure of their operations. Many are 4th or 5th generation ranching families. They often use public land grazing permits held by the U.S. Forest Service or the Bureau of Land Management to complement the grass hay produced in these riparian corridors. As a result, the resilience of those riparian areas is closely intertwined, not only with private land management actions, but also with the decisions made at state, regional, and national levels about the management of public lands and water.
As we face a drier future in the Intermountain West, conserving wetlands can help us make our watersheds and our communities more resilient. An important part of this is conserving flood-irrigated grass hay practices in our green ribbons by making sure ranchers stay in business and keep these places wet. Federal and state programs can help producers update their flood irrigation infrastructure, like replacing dilapidated culverts and head gates, so that water can move easily across the landscape. Agricultural conservation easement programs also help working lands stay intact.
By supporting the ranchers who are stewarding these important landscapes, we can help sustain the West's wetlands and the watersheds they support long into the future.
To learn more, visit iwjb.org/flood-irrigation.